cue to make the Leeds Rhinos feel more at home here in Adelaide. You see the rain tumbling down here. It's only just started in the last couple of seconds, and well, the supporters of both clubs, both the Rhinos and the Rams, are going to get a drenching here this evening. There are the Adelaide Rams getting prepared to come out onto this beautiful playing surface here at Adelaide, and Rod Reddy will be ecstatic, of course, with their 50-8 victory last week against the Salford club, but they won't be getting carried away. And Dean Bell, the coach of the Leeds Rhinos, has said during the week he's had no more added motivation needed than the fact that his side were given a lesson by the North Queensland Cowboys. And the Rams racked up a very healthy half-century against the Salford side, and it will be interesting to see the attitude taken by both these clubs in the early stages here as Kerrod Walters leads the Rams out through the tunnel. The socks already around the ankles, perhaps in preparation for another goose step as he leads them on this famous sporting arena. Cameron Blair with the yellow tape as ever around the years. Kerrod Walters, what a season he's been having, Wally Lewis. Really is a footballer reborn in the city of churches.
It's given him the opportunity to show the crowd again what his talents are and have been over the number of years. I believe that he probably thought he was under the thumb a little bit for the Brisbane Broncos. Wayne Bennett was a guy that concentrated on mistakes more than anything, and down here it's allowed him to open up and throw that ball around as much as he wants to in a game of football.
Wayne Simons there on the wing for the Adelaide Rams, back into the lineup for the first time in 6 weeks after suffering a broken finger some weeks ago against the Penrith Panthers. The coach, of course, for the Adelaide Rams is Rod Reddy. Cameron Blair, as I said, the yellow tape as ever. It's a superstition he has. He's never taken the field in a first-grade game without the yellow tape. Even got to the stage at some points of his career he sent his mum back home to find the yellow tape after he forgot to bring it to the ground.
I'm sure mum would have been pretty happy about that, but like most mums, I guess, they really stick behind their pride and joy. They don't really care whether I've got to go to the shop down the road, the one interstate, or wherever, catch a plane to get it. If it means that their son's going to go out there and perform to the best of their ability, she'll be pretty happy about it.
Well, some last-minute jogging on the spot from the Leeds Rhinos, and Gary Mercer, the Kiwi, will lead them out through the tunnel. They have the bye next week, so just 2 games down under as far as the Visa Cup World Club Challenge is concerned for the Leeds Rhinos. They go home. Their first game when they arrive back will be against Bradford, so what a welcome it will be back to them for the Euro League. Round 14, they take on the leading Bradford side. Gary Mercer leads them out. A couple of Australian faces you'll recognise, and the shape of Wayne Collins in particular, and the Tongan-born Martin Masella, 2/3 of the front row combination, which makes up that man there as well. Barry McDermott suffered a couple of nasty head gashes last week in that game against the Cowboys. As we look at their lineup, Damien Gibson, another Australian, is the fullback. There's Paul Sterling in conjunction with Leroy Rivet. They are the wingers. Hassan and Cummins the centres. Easton Harris and Ryan Sheridan, the half combination. Then it's Masella, Collins, McDermott, Morley, Farrell and Mercer. They are the forwards. The coach, of course, Dean Bell, another face you'll recognise from his stint with the Auckland Warriors in 1995. There is the captain, Gary Mercer.
And Mercer last week had a very good game for his team. I think that he probably wanted to show the Australians out here it wasn't all one-way traffic. The way he led from the front was admirable all night long, and I'm sure that he wants to turn things around here, open up his team, give him a chance at posting points on the board.
Wayne Collins with the tape around his head. He had 10 stitches inserted into a wound at the top of his scalp as Steve Clark, the referee, stands by. That wound last week for Wayne Collins was a nasty one and led to him spending a lot of time in the first half in the medical room being sewn up, Wally.
They talked about who was the busiest player on the field last week. Well, it probably could have been either one of the Cowboys or one of the Leeds Rhinos, but I honestly believe it was the Leeds doctor. He didn't stop working with a needle and thread for the first 25 minutes of the match.
Underway in game 1 of round 2 in the Visa Cup World Club Challenge as the rain continues to pour down here. It'll be interesting to see how the players handle what will be slippery conditions in the first 40 minutes at least. Paul Sterling off the wing gets it to the edge of the Rhinos' red zone. Collins is the dummy half. Hands it back to Masella, hard charging former Tiger. Here's Barry McDermott now. He himself 9 stitches in 2 separate cuts last week against the Cowboys. They go to the right-hand side. Here's the captain, Mercer, now. Gets it just over the halfway line. On the last. Comes to Ryan Sheridan. Houston Harris it is who puts the boots of ball. Maybon handles it inside the red zone. He takes it about 22 metres on his own side of halfway.
Fairly stiff breeze down here on the sideline, Warren, favouring Leeds in the first half.
Comes away to Bruce Mamando, used in the first part of the season by Rod Reddy off the interchange bench as an impact player. He's earned himself a place in the starting lineup in the last couple of weeks as Corvo now hands it off to Luke Williamson, who's at 5'8". Has been doing a very good job there for the Rams, the youngster. Walters comes back to the right-hand side. Alan Can, former Brisbane Bronco, his second game in the starting lineup. Been worked slowly back into this team after an off-season knee reconstruction. Last tackle now on the edge of the red zone. Skipper Lydiard is the halfback. Puts it into the air. Plenty of Rams there. 40 for it. Blair came down with it. Stephen Clark rules it forward.
Well, a real big problem for the referee on that occasion as we see the kick go up. Very well weighted. Players onside all the way. The catch was taken and propelled forward. A real tough decision to make from the referee there. He's got a rule. Was it knocked forward into the hands of another player, or was it just simply a juggle?
Both Wayne Simons and Solomon Keary were leaping for it. Keary couldn't hang on to it. Had he done and come down, it was certainly going to be a four-pointer. Marcella now, almost to the halfway line. 2.5 minutes gone in Adelaide. No score as McDermott makes a bust and hands it away to Sheridan. He's inside the red zone and they're not going to get him. And it's Leeds who hits the front 4-0 here against Adelaide. And that really came from nothing, Wally Lewis.
It sure did, but it came from a pass from a very talented player, Barry McDermott. We saw the talent from him last weekend against the North Queensland Cowboys. I was mentioning that he was aiming and targeting the smaller players on the edge of the ruck. That was a pretty ordinary defensive effort on that occasion. Cameron Blair was the one that allowed him to slip inside. Perhaps he was a little bit disappointed through not being able to chalk up the first try in the match. But something that I suppose is complete travesty, really, when you see all the play going in the first 2 or 3 minutes of it. A simple missed tackle, really, making the opportunity. Also, you've got to try and find out where the fullback was on this occasion.
Rod Maybon certainly wasn't at home, and it was Cameron Blair who missed the first up tackle in the front line. And after that, Barry McDermott got a simple ball away to Ryan Sheridan. So Leeds this week, as opposed to being down 26-0 at one stage of the first half against the Cowboys, they'll play from in front, and that's where Harris will take the conversion attempt from. He hits the upright, if you can believe that, and misses.
Well, there'll be a lot of people that won't believe it. I'm sure there'll be a couple of people on the Leeds bench a little bit upset about it, no doubt. That's 2 points that you can't afford to go giving away in a game of football. Now, Dean Bell, probably 20 or 30 seconds earlier, would have been ecstatic about the way his team had managed to start. Yes, that's something now that he's got to try and make up for.
Gee, I reckon I could have kicked that one, Wally. You probably could have kicked that one as well. Great start. McDermott leading from the front. Geez, a powerful player.
10 metres, fellas. Barry.
He is a powerful player, and he's just mentioned.
Wait, penalty already gone. No. Penalty already gone. You shoulder right out. No need.
It sounds like Barry McDermott mentioned to the referee there that he owed him one. A simple penalty being given by the referee. 2 or 3 of the Rhinos way in front. McDermott going across and just putting a little bump on, just to remind some of the opponents that he is out there in the football field and he's here tonight to take 2 points home for the Rhinos.
Blair now trying to atone for that missed tackle as he works it into the Rhinos' side of halfway. To Alan Can. Comes into a couple of Rhinos. Morley was there in tandem with Yeston Harris. Inside ball, Mamando couldn't hang on to it. Went backwards, according to Steve Clark. When it is, he'll play it. Go to the left. Skipper Liddy. First receiver this evening for Adelaide. Almost to the edge of the red zone. Corvo now, flat-footed, Hands it off to Luke Williamson, who chips in behind the defence. Coming across with the fullback, Damien Gibson will be dragged back into the in-goal area, forcing a Leeds line dropout.
Well, I was just about to say it was a pretty ordinary chip kick that went simply into the fullback's hands, into Damien Gibson. Now he's got to make up a mind. Do I try and run the ball? Do I just drop down? Probably a lot of people believe if you simply drop down to the ground, you're almost endangering yourself of being penalised for an involuntary tackle. But, Jacko, it looks like there's a fair bit of talk going on once that first 4 points was posted.
Yeah, they're struggling a little bit, the Rams, at this stage. They're not playing the simple game plan that we've become used to seeing from this side, so they're throwing around a little bit more than they normally do, and that could bring them unstuck a little bit.
Can shrugged away from a couple before being brought down 20 out from the Rhinos line. Here is Skifalidi. Williamson represented Australia in the under-19 test match on Anzac Day against the New Zealand side. The Aussies went down to the Kiwis, but Williamson was impressive, scoring a try in that outing. Certainly a player with plenty of potential as Walters plays it. They come to the blind side. Mando push away from Morley, unable to do so. Last tackle. Well handled by Skifalidi on the half volley. Pressure again for Sterling. Simons came through. Sterling diffused it beautifully.
Well, you can just see the motivation on board the Leeds outfit at the moment. Did it remarkably well, Sterling, on that occasion. This has just become one of the most, well, almost trade-worn secrets in the game at the moment, to try and chip kick across. Obviously used to get rid of the slide defensive pattern. It's been working extremely well. Defused. Let's see what Leeds can come up with in this next set of 6.
Lasella bouncing away from the Skifalidi tackle. Collins a dummy half. Comes to Sheridan, the try scorer. Turns it back inside for Adrian Morley. A rangy second rower. Through Harris. And this is Anthony Farrell, standing a little bit wide to make bust on the edge. Almost David Furness style. Last tackle, and Harris puts it to the air. Plenty coming through. Sterling was there, knocked it backwards, and McDermott picked it up. He was tackled on the last. No Adelaide player got a hand to it.
Yeah, they did pretty well on that occasion, the Rams. It's a tough decision to make. Do you try and jump up and contest the ball in the air and risk giving your opponents another 6 tackles? I don't think it was quite the kick that Harris wanted on the occasion, simply tucked back by Sterling. But now it's very important for Adelaide that they're able to settle down, just play their normal game, get out of the trademark fashion they've become used to when they're in a little bit of strife, just tipping the ball over their shoulders.
Alan Can getting a great ball away in that last tackle. Now Corbo picking up 15 minutes for the Rams. Good set of 6 being strung together here by Adelaide. They go to the left-hand side. Here's Blair stepping off the left, got halfway through a gap. Chance there for Adelaide, but good cover defence from Farrell. He picked up Skifalidi. Here's the last. Short ball from Walters. Got it away to Quinn. He'll dive over. Clark is going to point to the spot and award the try. They've hit back. And it's Adelaide and Leeds 4-all here at Adelaide Oval.
In the best possible fashion, Kerrod Walters spotting one marker out of position. A simple run up the middle. Probably the Rhinos expecting a clearing kick. It was the last tackle, thinking that because they've done the work for the previous 5, they're about to get it. They're a little bit lazy. Nice work from Kerrod to shoot straight up the middle. You've really got to give them a pat on the back, their forwards. They're not usually known for support play up the middle of the ruck. That's where the 5/8s and halfbacks come into play, milking the good work that's come from the ball-working forwards. But gee, it's been one of those games that's just gone from one end of the field to the other. One mistake, though, has simply given either team an opportunity to score a try, and they've cashed in both times.
The Cowboys did plenty of that last week in that first half against the Rhinos. As you said, just one mistake, and it's cost them 4 points, quite possibly 6 with the record of Luke Williamson. Gave him a rap as far as his positional play and play in general was concerned. Well, he's a great goal kicker as well. 10 minutes gone. 4 apiece at Adelaide. 6 from 6 in the World Club Challenge so far for Luke Williamson. Make it 7 from 7. As the Rams 6 lead the Rhinos 4.
Gee, I admire this kid. He's only 18 and a half years of age, Williamson. He's done extremely well. Here's the break from Kerrod Walters up the middle. Blair simply coming up with short support. It's fairly obvious there that there wasn't too much defence that was getting into position.
Yeah, they just went to sleep, didn't they, on the 5th tackle. While you spotted it, they were expecting a kick. They didn't go up on the line. Kerrod spotted that and did the rest.
Sterling now away from the back of the ruck. Well, good tackles there by the Rams. Here's Mercer now, scouting back towards the blind side. The Rhinos have had plenty of possession, but a lot of it has been inside their own 50. Comes away to Farrell. Tackle from Bowden around the legs to bring him to ground. On the last.
Thank you.
Did it tough getting out of their own red zone. Mabon going back, juggles it a couple of times and eventually hung on to it. That will be the 0 tackle. Maguire now. On the way to Chris Quinn. His first try in the World Club Challenge, giving the Rams a 2-point lead. Amando plays it. Come the blind side. Heavy tackle this time. Phil Hassan, who came up with some big hits last week against the Cowboys, really crunched Michael Maguire then, and he's a little bit sick.
Oh, he sure is. I mean, it's a cloudy night with rain here in Adelaide, but I bet you he'll be seeing stars for the next 25 or 30 seconds. There's no doubt about that. It was a nice, good shot. Well, gee, it was a little bit high. The referee, though, was standing fairly close by. He adjudged Sam's tackle to be legal.
A little bit high. It was right around the nose.
Well, perhaps he was just trying to adjust or shift a little bit of dirt that was laying there.
Given the benefit of the replay, Stephen Clark might have changed his mind. Sterling again, great under pressure. Simons came through and barreled him in the tackle. Stephen Clark has ruled Wayne Simons was offside from the kick and he was inside the 10 metres when Sterling took the ball and absolutely creamed him there. A good tackle, but Sterling, to his credit, bounced to his feet quickly.
Well, he's handled both high kicks pretty well, Paul Sterling, hasn't he? Keeps his eye on the ball here. That's the way to do it, kids. Wasn't worrying about the chasers coming through. He's an impressive talent.
Well, gee, we saw the replay there. If he was offside, his nostrils were in front of the kicker. No doubt about that. But now I'm sure this probably gives him a little bit of extra motivation. They believe that they were onside, no doubt about it. With the 2-point lead, they're wanting to please a pretty good crowd here at Adelaide.
What is a wet night? The rain for the moment looks as though it's eased to the point of almost stopping. Here is McDermott. Made the bust for Sheridan's try. It leads on the board, and a loose ball. Corbo dives on it for the Rams. A simple changeover of possession there.
That's the first time Leeds have come up with that sort of error in the game. They've been handling possession fairly well. They turned it over once or twice, but it didn't come from simple errors up the middle of the ruck.
Heavy work in again as Simons ventured into the middle of the field and ran into a strong shoulder from Adrian Morley. Can. Stopped by Harris. Sheridan's there as well. Almost 14 minutes gone in the first half between the Rams and the Rhinos. Round 2 of the World Club Challenge. Here's Mabon, saw half a gap, and for a second there, he was away if it hadn't been for the covering tackle of Ryan Sheridan, the halfback. They go left. Space is out wide for the Rams. The ball comes loose.
Hand over there. We are on the line.
And it will be a Leeds ball from the edge of their red zone.
Jamie Mathau on for Martin Marcelo, the first interchange of the match for the Rhinos.
Dean Bell not waiting too long. Mathau, another Australian, who spent time with the North Queensland Cowboys, told us before the game how different it was he found it playing in Townsville after being in England for some time, and here he is hitting it up number 20. All the Leeds Rhinos, Jamie Mathau, he said it was a real culture shock going back there after the cool weather in the Euro League. Here's Hassan. Then he comes up with a big hit. Michael Maguire, now he's forced over the sideline. A mistake there from the left centre.
Well, that really is a waste of possession. Pretty good defence coming up there from the Rams. Slide defence coming across. But it was just simply an option that when you see the defenders, 2 or 3 of them coming across, you don't put yourself in the situation where you're in doubt. You simply either run on the inside yourself or turn the winger as your attacking option back on the inside and maintain possession and keep the pressure on your opponents.
Blair off the back of the scrum. Plays it. Williamson, it comes away to Dave Boughton. Midfield, they go to the left-hand side. Williamson again has been involved early. Kieran Walters at dummy half once more. Corvo spinning, got it back to Skipperlini. Mabon deep and running wide, can't beat Phil Hassan. Maguire, just a settler. One more chance for the Rams here. Walters chipping in behind the defence, looking for the in-goal area. Mathau gets back there. So does Damien Gibson. He won't make it back to the field of play. In the end, a good chip and chase from the Rams. Kieran Walters, there wasn't much happening for them, and he had the good vision to see a gap in behind the line and forces the goal line dropout.
Yeah, he came up with probably 2 or 3 good points in that kick. The Fokker just simply pushed the kick into an area which wasn't manned by the Rhinos. The biggest point that he came up with, it wasn't too hard, that it was going to put it under pressure of perhaps running over. They're looking after themselves fairly well in defence, Leeds, so far. They've got good slide tactics coming up.
Just some quick news on Martin Marcella. He's actually popped an AC joint, so don't know if he'll be back tonight. We'll keep you up to date.
That will be a blow for Dean Bell and his Leeds Rhinos, and Marcella is unable to take his place back on the field at some stage later in the game. Corvo inside the 20 of Leeds. Walters looking for holes. The Rhinos' defence has stopped moving up suddenly. Here's Chris Quinn, hung onto by Morley, got the ball away to Mabon. He was crunched by Barry McDermott. Back to the blind side. Skipper Liddy turns it for Mamanda, who got to Walters. Away for Quinn, the ball comes loose.
Both ways. Both ways. First one by the Rams. Barry McDermott. Barry McDermott.
I think Barry's in trouble.
Okay, I'll just do this. Okay, stand it up. Mate, I was just trying to play an advantage there. There was a high tackle down there, all right? Yeah, get him down, okay? You got to get him down, okay? Who was it, Ian? That's enough. Anthony Farrell.
There's a report coming in from the touch judge.
It might have been nothing. Little scuffle. Let's just calm it, cool it. Let's just cut the rubbish out and get on with the football.
Steve Clark on top of things. A quick warning on the run for Barry McDermott. So there really was a crunching tackle on Mabon. It looked to be as bad as the Phil Hassan tackle on Michael Maguire, though, that's for sure.
Pretty important that the Rhinos come up with just sensible play here. 3 or 4 nice rucks up the middle, perhaps just spread it once to stretch the Adelaide defence and then get a nice clearing kick into whichever side they have the winger out of position the most.
Wayne Collins picks up 10 valuable metres for the Rhinos. 9 on their own side of halfway. Here's Farrell, who just got the warning in tandem with Mark Corvo. The scuffle off the ball on the last tackle. Collins away to Harris. The kicker, as usual, for the Rhinos. Maguire will watch it go over the sideline eventually.
Push him out of the way. No one off the ball.
Steve Clark penalising Leroy Rivet. He was thinking that the ball was going to be taken by Maguire as he watched it here in anticipation of him taking it. Tackled him without the ball, giving away the penalty.
Yeah, I don't think there's too much wrong with that. I thought he did pretty well there, Leroy Rivet. I guess I would have come up with the same thing. It really did look as though the Adelaide winger was going to try and come up with possession. If he could have knocked him into touch, then they get, 25, 30 metres out from the line with 6 tackles to go.
Corvo runs into a brick wall there in the shape of Morley. Walters, the open side to Alan Cairn. Offloaded to Williamson. The Rams have been able to stand and offload a couple of times in the last 10 minutes. They've made good metres by doing so. Rhinos have been canted this end of the field. Mabon hit by Farrell and McDermott.
I think you'd be saying thanks for the ball there, Kieran. Nice pass.
Last 2 times he's handled, he's been crushed, and Phil Hassan now comes up with the interception. The pressure relieved for the Rhinos. Needed to be.
Well, the Rhinos have got to get down the other end of the park. They've been down here for what seems an eternity, and it's really starting to use up some juice. They're getting tired from too much defence.
Danger for the Rams, of course. You see a side so often dominate field position, and then when the other team gets a sniff, they're able to put on a 4-pointer against the run of play. Sheridan scheming across field. Got it away to Francis Cummins. Good tackle by Mabon, who was forced to make a try-saver. To the left-hand side, Sheridan looking to his left. Hassan back to Rivet. Cross it comes to Sheridan again. Or Harris, rather. He was tackled just inside the red zone. One more chance for the Rhinos. This is Sheridan this time. Kicking back. McDermott was offside, surely.
Either that or he's in their Olympic sprint team.
In front of the kicker. In front, mate.
Stephen Clark ruling him offside. Well, there couldn't have been any doubt. He would have to be 10 metres offside.
Just a little. But he's done fairly well. He's been in strife with the referee a couple of times. 3 higher shots, offside twice. But I think still, although he's given all that away, he has been one of the Leeds' best players. The space that he's able to make up the middle of the ruck just through his solid attacking raids, they're first class. He was doing that all last week, and I'm sure that he's out here to remind the Australian forwards that there are plenty of those in the UK.
Touch, fellas.
Adelaide at 3-1 advantage in the penalties. Bruce Mando. Bounce away from Hassan. Here's Michael Maguire. Farrell again. Good tackle. The front line. There, off the left. 38 metres away from their own line. Rams leading the Rhinos by 2 points. Bowden. Almost to the halfway line. Wayne Simons on the 5th tackle. What a good ball away to Mabon. Looking for support. Steps away from a couple more. Mando couldn't handle. Play on, says Clark. Steve Stone on the field for the Rams. Picks it up. He'll play it there on the last. Chance wide for the Rams. Skipper Liddy. He can find somebody outside him. Everybody had turned back to the inside. Williamson pushes away from Farrell. Gets a grubber away. Not handled by McDermott first up. Luckily for him, the ball went backwards. He'll play it just outside the red zone. The Rhinos on their last excursion with the ball showed they were able to make good ground against the Rams' defence.
Pretty important for Gary Mercer as captain of the Leeds team at the moment, just to settle them down, make sure that they can come up with 4 rucks and then clear the football.
Too long. Too long. No, he didn't. Too long.
Penalty coming through, just holding down a player a little bit too long. There's a tackle coming up on Gary Mercer.
Coolvo around the legs and didn't get up quick enough. And there's Kerrod Walters now, lurking out here on the right wing for the Rams. Really is looking to be in trouble and continues to play out there on the wing at the moment. Oh, McDermott comes up with a simple error. Just when they look like mounting a challenge against the Adelaide defence, McDermott has dropped it cold.
Well, just hasn't been the big bloke's night so far. I guess if there's one good thing to come out of it for Leeds, virtually rest assured his next tackle will be a beauty.
Let him in. Back it out, Leeds. Let him in. Hold it there, steady. Square it up, Dean. Square, Dean. Get it in. Get it in. It's out.
The Rams, as you'd expect, win the scrum, and it's Solomon Carey playing on the left side of the field for Adelaide, who's tackled. Bowden. Former Cronulla Shark. Left they go again. Here's Keary. His second hit up in the same set of 6. Andrew Hick. Just on the Adelaide side of halfway. No addition to the scoreline. As Luke Williamson converted Chris Quinn's try. Walters at dummy half on the last tackle. Looking for that man Williamson. The midfield bomb. Rivets there. So is Gibson. The Mando, the leaper was there. Got a forward. Gets it to it.
Hand over here. Right there on that 20 metre on the numbers.
Yeah, something that we saw probably after 5 or 6 minutes of the game down the other end of the field when Leeds put up a bomb. Quite good thinking here from the Rhinos. Just deciding to let the Ram player jump into the ground and take a little bit of a scary option there. They really didn't have anything to worry about. The play was still about 25 metres out from the line. Not much chance of the ball coming down back into the hands of the Rams to jump over for a try.
Half-hour tackle. 8 metres on his own side of halfway. Bruce Mamando on that leap for the ball. He's shown a couple of times this year he could really get up high. He scored a memorable try against the Penrith Panthers some weeks back in the Australasian Super League. Another mistake by the Rhinos. Clark says that went backwards. Well, it may have been behind the player when he dropped it, but it certainly looked as if the ball was propelled forward towards the opponent's try line. Just the 3 errors made by the Rhinos at this stage, but that error count was 0 not that long ago.
Well, easy to be critical sitting here in the box, but their kicking game really is letting them down sadly at the moment. Leeds, Wayne Collins kicking from dummy half. It's not always a problem. Sometimes a good idea to kick from dummy half, but when you're only going to make around about 20 metres from a kick, and when you're trying to get as deep in your opposition territory as possible, certainly wasting the talent.
Andrew Hick, you see, Leeds there 65% of the time inside their own half. Adelaide have had 57% of the ball.
When you look at those stats, Leeds have done extremely well to only be trailing by 2 points. They've had all the possession, all the field position. Adelaide, they can't come up with the points.
They led Salford 16-6 last week. Another game they dominated field position and possession in as Boughton inside the red zone. Got the arm spree, and then Keary was tackled high by Farrell. Steve Clark is going to rule the changeover, but the Adelaide Rams crowd hooting for a high tackle.
Well, the thing very memorable on that replay is to see that the defender coming in, Anthony Farrell, had his hand open. Another knock on was certainly going to sting their chances just over 10 minutes before half-time. But usually when you see a high tackle that's meant,
that's the little one,
the fist is clenched.
Stephen Clark has found the smallest of fumbles from Jamie Mandow, putting Leeds under pressure again. Just over 12 minutes left in this first half. The Rams a great chance to extend this lead. Skipperletti and Williamson. Solomon Keary coming in from the left-hand side of the field.
That's great defence on that occasion. Eston Harris running up to really defuse what looked like quite a promising attacking play.
Stone rather did well to hang on to it. Ball pass off the back of the ruck from the Rams, and it's Hick. Midfield, 5 metres out. The Rhinos 20. It's Corvo now. He's working it up for a settler.
Get up out of the way. We've got to clear that ruck area.
Well, referee Stephen Clark judging the ball to be ripped out of the player's hands on this occasion. And really, again, it's fairly easy to be critical sitting up here, but it's poor captaincy. Gary Mercer, the player, being chosen to be the man at fault on that occasion, where it was the 5th tackle being called. Just one more to come up with. 11 minutes out from half-time. That could put Adelaide 4 points clear. Perhaps he felt his team needed a little bit of a rest, but to give them a rest when you're going to give away 2 points is something that, well, you're really going to toss a coin to judge whether he's doing right or wrong there.
Yeah, lack of discipline's their problem, Wally, both with their ball control and giving away penalties. And if they want to be in this game and stay in this game, they've got to cut that stuff out.
Well, we spoke before the game about their possibly being happier in these conditions, a lot cooler than it was last week in Townsville, but they've noticeably tired in the last 10 minutes, and when most of the mistakes in that penalty just then have come. Williamson makes no mistake with the penalty. And the Rams 8, the Leeds 4. with just over 10 minutes left before half-time.
And with that period left just before half-time, this next set of 6 tackles becomes critical for Leeds. They've made a couple of mistakes out of the last 4 sets of 6 tackles that they've had. They've turned over possession 3 times deep inside their own territory, which is basically what's responsible for that 2 points going to Adelaide. They've got to settle down now, be a little bit more disciplined, simply take 5 rucks, make no mistakes, and get a nice, long, clear kick in and have a very good chasing game.
Morley, a bust first up for the Rhinos, 20 metres away from the halfway line. Collins gets it back to Gary Mercer. Queen, a good tackle around the legs for the Rams. To the blind once more. Here's Barry McDermott. Full of mistakes the last couple of possessions. Tommy hangs on to it. Here's Mathau. Another villain as far as handling errors is concerned. Fanned out deep to the right-hand side. Ryan Sheridan standing outside Harris this time on the last tackle. 12 inside the Ram side of halfway. Harris it is. He goes to the air. Maybon stands there. Coming through as Farrell. The pressure in the end wasn't able to get there because there was some good unintentional blocking, if you like, by the Rams.
Yeah, they did that quite well. Another injury coming up. Probably giving his teammates a little bit of a rest as well. You can't be critical of when that happens. The forwards certainly appreciate that more than anybody else. And with just this slender period left before the break, very important they come up with no mistakes at this end of the field.
Boughton will play it. 28 away from his own try line. Here's Alan Cairn. Fend away from Morley and Farrell. Walters at dummy half. Hick juggled it on the fingertips. Schiavelletti saw that the Rhinos defence hadn't moved up on that blind side. Took advantage of it to pick up 15 valuable metres. Williamson kicking. The Leroy Rivets wing. He knocks it off. Yet another mistake by the Rhinos. Doesn't that put them under some pressure now?
Well, it really was I thought, almost a poor kick from Williamson. Went straight down the throat. Well, the Rhino about to take the possession. Riffett, it didn't look to be in perfect position to take the ball. Again, it's very easy sitting up here, but it's often better advised to let the ball bounce. At worst, it's only going to go into touch and your team's going to get possession back anyway.
Chris Quinn, tackle. 15 metres out from the Rhinos line. To the left-hand side. Cam trying to bump away from Farrell's tackle. Mercer is there to help bring him to ground. Ball comes loose.
You can't throw it away after
That is a real let-off there for the Rhinos, and Alan Cairn is fuming.
Well, he's a very angry young man, Alan Cairn. Always has been at the Brisbane Broncos, and he certainly hasn't lost his temper down here at the Adelaide Rams.
Well, now we're going to see some sensible play from Leeds. There's Gary Mercer taking the ball up again. Gee, he's got to be on double time and a half this bloke. He had a magnificent game last week. Already in this game, he seems to be almost taking half of the forward work.
Comes to the right-hand side. McDermott.
That's ball!
Another good run from the big front rower. And a good quick play of the ball as well, but the dummy half couldn't come up with it. Such was the speed of the play the ball.
And he's got tackled exactly where the play the ball occurred.
A wasted tackle almost in effect for the Rhinos, as Sheridan this time looking for that eastern touchline at the northern end of Adelaide Oval. Avon tried to take on Sterling, flirting with the touchline. Here's Maguire now coming from the right wing, helping out these forwards who are taking some time to get back, and now there's a mistake from Wayne Simons. What is happening out there?
Well, perhaps we can blame the slippery ball. It really did look like Wayne was just taking a little bit of a peep, working out where he was going to take his attacking play, looking for a slight gap in the defensive line. With 5 minutes left, it's going to be pretty important that
move off your position and take any of their chases out, all right? You're coming through as a foil. When they're kicking downfield, you're coming through as a foil and taking their chases out, all right? You can't do it.
No, I don't think it was just then, Wayne. I think it was the last time they were down on the opposite side of the field.
Here's the Rhinos now inside the Adelaide red zone. Coming across field. Sheridan showed it a couple of... Harris, rather, showed it a couple of times and almost went all the way. Rivet running 25 metres across field and about 10 metres backwards. Nobody can tackle him. Eventually, Waters does. 15 out from the Rams line.
Pretty important here. They just try and set this ruck up. Get Barry McDermott into position. He loves attacking the edge of the ruck at the smaller players.
They're lined out to the left-hand side. Here is McDermott. He stumbled. A quick play the ball, though. Maybe it was a planned move away. Farrell stormed onto it.
Yeah, that's a wasted tackle.
One more for the Rhinos. Collins, a dummy half. They go right. The Rams are up very quickly. Mercer tipping for the in goal. A race between Sterling and Simons. And the ball beats them both.
Well, Jacko, they did pretty well to get down that end of the field, but those last three tackles, there wasn't a lot of common sense about them.
No, there wasn't a great deal of organisation there, Wally. That was a bad pass from dummy half. Matthew just got it onto that player who put the kick in, and there was nothing doing there, but at least they're down this end of the field. That's something different for them.
Considering the mistakes they've made, Dean Bell will probably be very happy going in just 4 points down at half-time if they can hold out the Rams here in the last 4 minutes or so. Tackle on the halfway line was Steve Stone. Walters trying to pick up some easy metres from dummy half. Skipper-Liddy now. The Rhinos defence slow to move up on that open side. One more tackle for the Rams. Williamson steps back inside this time, tried to run it on the last, stumbled, and Mathau nailed him 30 out from the Rhinos line. That'll turn it over.
Well, admittedly, conditions are a little bit slippery underfoot. There's no doubt about that, but you've got to try and make the most of when you get an opportunity at the opposite ends of the field. That one, we saw Williamson just try and step inside before he made the kick. I think it was probably his best decision given time over again. He probably would have put the ball high in the air. Hopefully would have come up with at least another 6 tackles.
Harris working to his left-hand side. Such a clever ball player.
He is a clever ball player because watch him. Every time he runs, he always carries it in 2 hands. He gives the defenders a real problem. Do they run in and make the tackle? Do they hang off and wait for the pass?
Sheridan found Morley steaming onto it that time. Hit going to the right-hand side. Sheridan rubbering for Sterling. The ball came loose off Maybon. Boughton was back there luckily for the Rams to pick up the crumbs. Here he is playing at 5 metres out.
Well, he's got to be offside, hasn't he, Luke Williamson? Certainly coming from an offside position. There's another mistake.
And it's Wayne Simons again, I think you'll find, who's come up with a mistake. He was in there to work it away quickly and give the forwards a break. Well, he'll be hiding in the grandstands after the last 2 times he's touched it.
Yeah, there's a couple of mistakes. Probably he's going to be reminded on that occasion from Kerrod Walters, who was in position ready to take the ruck. Simons probably thought he could give him a rest, but that's 2 in a row he's come up with.
Maybe it's justice after it did look like that Williamson, I called it as Boughton, but it was Williamson getting back there. Could be offside on the replay, no doubt about that. Mercer now, just 5 metres out from the Rams line. To the left-hand side, through Harris. Sheridan standing outside him again. Comes away. This is Francis Cummins.
Yeah, really, they're getting a nice deep back line. They're working perfectly with that, but they just haven't got a planned move on.
Morley. A settler, 1 pass off the ruck. 5 away from the Rams line again. They compass and play the ball. And it's Harris chipping into the in goal. Simons got there in time just to beat Sterling. Simon shoveled it over the touch in goal line. He and Sterling had a bit coming together.
They're probably asking himself, what the hell am I doing here? There it is, this new trademark of rugby league. Simon's getting back. He was under massive pressure from Paul Sterling, who was racing through. Took the correct option, I thought, as well, trying to bat the ball out, not trying to ensure he had the ball in his hands.
Real pressure for the Rams here. They need to score points, Leeds. They've been down here for a couple of sets now. They need points on the board before half-time. They've got 41 seconds to do it.
And they did very well there on that occasion, Leeds. They probably ran down the clock by another 15 seconds. They've got 3 play the balls to try and work something.
Mercer slips as he comes to the defence. This is Damien Gibson. 25 away from the Rams line. 20 seconds left. They try for the grubber early. Farrell will get back there. They'll retain possession. They've got just 13 seconds left now before the halftime siren. Harris flips the ball to Gibson. McDermott standing wide. He tries to straighten it. Gets it back to Wayne Collins. They keep it alive. But there is the halftime siren. So Adelaide hang on and will have a 4-point advantage as they go into the sheds at the break.
Well, they're going to be going in there. No doubt some of the players are a little bit tired, sucking in a little bit of breath on the way off. But so too will be both coaches. They're going to need both of them because I believe that they'll be going through the roof. What they've seen in the last 15 to 18 minutes of that game won't please either of them. The first 15 or 20 would have had them clicking their heels together. They've certainly wasted some opportunities, both teams.
I'd say be pretty happy, Dean Bell, going in with this scoreline. They've made all the mistakes. They haven't been down the other end of the field a great deal. They've had to do a lot of tackling, so I reckon he'd be absolutely wrapped.
Well, he'll certainly be happier this week than he was last week when they scored a couple of late tries in the first half against the North Queensland Cowboys to trail 26 points to 10 at half-time, but they really were pretty much out of the game at that stage. But there's certainly been a lot more concerted effort in the first 40 minutes here, and as you say, Peter, they hadn't made some of those simple mistakes early in the tackle count at their own end of the field. They really could be holding a lead themselves here at half-time as they make their way back to the change rooms. They'll come out fired up in the second 40, no doubt about that. This opening game of the second round of the Visa Cup World Club Challenge. It is the Rams who lead the Leeds Rhinos by a scoreline of 8 points to 4. Well, last week, Leeds trailed the North Queensland Cowboys 26-0, as we said, at one stage of that first half in Townsville. It was pretty obvious the players hadn't coped too well with the game played in steamy conditions just 5 days after they'd arrived in the country. To see if the Rhinos were expecting to be more at home in the cool night air of Adelaide, Peter Jackson caught up with their captain, Gary Mercer, and front rower, Barry McDermott.
Well, Barry McDermott from the Leeds club in Australia for a couple of weeks now. I suppose these conditions here tonight a little bit different to last week in North Queensland.
Yeah, it's a little bit more live back home. A cool night, so, you know, hopefully conditions should suit us.
Oppressive conditions in North Queensland last week, and I believe you spent a bit of time in the blood bin as well.
Yeah, that's right. It's been about 6 years since I last got a cut, and I got 2 in the same night, so that's luck for you.
Everything's okay for tonight then with the head?
Yeah, no problem whatsoever. All the boys are geared up for a good win. Devastated with last week's performance and going to put it right this week.
And Gary Mercer, the captain of the Leeds side, how did you see last week's game against North Queensland? First of all, how did you rate the Cowboys?
Very strong. I mean, you've got to rate every Australian club side over here very strong because they play intense rugby, and we were disappointed in the first 20 minutes. We let in 3 tries and we were playing catch-up football, so, you know, we're a bit disappointed, but we've looked at the video, we've rectified all our mistakes and come out with some positive.
How can you turn it around tonight against the Rams?
Well, the Rams are a good side. I mean, a great attacking side, so we can look defensively strong tonight and just go from there, and if we can keep our defence tight, we've a very good show winning tonight.
Barry, you've played against the Australians, of course, on Kangaroo Tours. What do you see the main difference between English Rugby League and Australian Rugby League?
I think the main difference being back home, of course, we've been playing the 10-yard rule, you know, close to 3-4 seasons now, and we've managed to tidy up the play of the ball, and it's altogether a lot prettier to watch. Over here, you're just getting used to the rule, and it seems to be a lot messier, and certainly that makes it a little bit quicker. But I'd say the speed of the game back home would be on par with it, you know, over here. But like I said, just it's a little bit messier, and people get away with a lot more than they would do if they was playing in England.
Gary, would it be a fair comment to say that perhaps the English game relies more on attack, whereas the Australian game probably there's more of an emphasis on defence?
I think the English sides are improving immensely. Probably if you go back 4 or 5 years ago, yeah, a lot of the English sides looked at scoring big points, but you know, the game's stiffened up over there, and now I've got a lot of respect for the English game, and we're over here to promote it, and it's great to play against the best sides in the world.
And the Rams, you've had a look at a couple of videos. You see any weaknesses in their side tonight?
we've had a look at the video, and you know, like I said again, any club side's a strong side, especially if it's an Australian side, and you know, we're just going to play well, play positive, and we'll come out winning.
For the Leeds side, Barry, any young blokes we should keep an eye on? Any young up-and-coming stars? Obviously, you two blokes are the veterans of the team, but there must be a couple of young blokes we can keep an eye on tonight.
Yeah, that's right. Unfortunately, Richie Blackmore's had to pull out with an ankle injury, and we've got young Leroy Rivet coming in. He's come onto the wing, and Francis Cummins has gone into the centre. He's a real live wire.
So Francis Cummins is the one to look out for the Leeds Rhinos tonight?
Francis Cummins, Leroy Rivet.
Well, boys, good luck tonight against the Rams. Hope it's a good game, and welcome to Australia.
Thanks, mate.
Well, half time, they're pretty even, apart, of course, from the possession. Leeds have only had 46% of the ball, and when they have had the ball, 60% of that time has been in their own half.
That's right. Although they're down a little bit, most people might say, well, they're only down 8%. But out of that 46% of the percentage that they'd have, 6/10 of that has been in their own half. And that's been the critical factor for them tonight. Jacko has mentioned a couple of times on the way through, it's been imperative that they get possession down the other end of the field and try and come up with something attacking down that end. They're too tired when they get down there if all the players down their own end of the field and they're all tackling.
Interesting listening to Gary Mercer there in that chat with Peter Jackson before the kickoff this evening, saying that they knew there was going to be a difference between the EuroLeague game and the Australasian game, and on the back of that, Dennis Betts, also the Auckland Warrior and soon-to-be Wigan player, has come out during the week saying he believes there are far too many Australians playing in the EuroLeague back home, and it doesn't give the chance for the local youngsters to develop at the highest level.
Yeah, well, that's a point that I suppose a lot of people are going to have their own side of the story on. They believe that what's the use of putting players in if they're not really going to have the same talent as maybe one or two of the Australians playing over there. But I guess it's a good idea in some ways, but it's something that you won't really know the end result of unless you try it. They've got to try and do that. What was very interesting there in the half-time break was to see the Adelaide players. They were all just sort of standing around having a little bit of a yap, talking about what they've got to come out with. The Leeds players were on their feet. They were bouncing up and down. They know they're well and truly in this game. They're only a couple of points behind, 4 points behind at half-time. When you saw that the dressing room comparison from last week in Townsville to that one there, they're a bit different football team this time round. They know that they can go out there with the football. There's the most electric player in the Adelaide team, Rod Reddy, the coach, racing out. We've got a game of footy on our hands here. I'm sure that we're going to see some pretty electric stuff towards the end of this game, but it's going to be absolutely imperative that both teams go out for this first 10 or 15 minutes, which is probably the most important part of a game. Just after half-time, how you tie your opponents, where you put your positional kicks to try and keep them deep in their own possession, because if you can keep them in their own territory for as much as possible in that period of time, then the second period of play, they've certainly got to carry a little bit of tired play to them. Their legs, the muscles are going to be a little bit weary, and they mightn't have the ability to finish off the chances that may provide themselves in that last 10 or 15 minutes.
Get the feeling if Leeds can hang tight here and stay very close to the Rams as the game possibly opens up, as those players do get tired, but the likes of Yeston, Harrison, Ryan, Sheridan scheming around off the back of the ruck, they really have the ball-playing ability to open some chances up for the Rhinos.
Yeah, we had that Harris on the camera there. He's going to be the guy that will probably decide the issue for Leeds if he gets the opportunity to come up with some attacking plays deep in Adelaide's territory. He's running the ball quite well, as is their halfback, Ryan Sheridan, who's been a little bit quiet at this stage, but when the opportunity provides itself, he'll try and cash in.
Stephen Clark blows time back on for this second half at Adelaide Oval. It is the Rams in their red and blue jumpers running from the right of screen.
And that's terrible. Look at that kickoff. They've provided the opportunity now. Just 2 tackles have gone past. Adelaide have the ball around about 12 metres from halfway. It should have been a long, deep kickoff.
Standing by on the sideline is the coach of the Adelaide Rams, Rod Reddy. Rod, what were your instructions to the team at half-time?
Oh, again, mate, I just thought we defended very well in a, from a very committed Leeds side. I just think we need to cut the errors out in our own half and carry the ball out of more there and in the good ball area, get to our points and attack the right players. We just haven't really finished our last plays good enough.
Rocket, you mentioned the defence. I mean, it's desperation in your own line really has been first class. It didn't look too many occasions that there were any chance of busting it.
Yeah, that's pleasing, mate. But again, I'd like to get the points on the board and do that. I mean, defensively, okay. A good side, this Leeds side, very quick, and they'll take their opportunities. We need to be good tonight.
Rod, thanks for your time. Good luck in the second half.
Thanks, mate.
Another quick penalty here against the Rhinos, too, in the first minute and 15 seconds of this second 40 minutes. That gives the Adelaide Rams great field possession here down the northern end of this Adelaide Oval. Look at the penalties there. The Rhinos obviously struggling to come to terms with the Australasian referee's interpretations here this evening.
I thought that penalty was pretty indicative of what Reddy would have said at half-time, the speed that he wishes his players to get up off the ground. Both tackles, they got off very quickly. The second one, we saw the Leeds players not able to match it for speed. A penalty going, well, there's another one coming exactly the same way as I just mentioned.
Pushed him.
3 penalties just like that. They're going to take the quick tap. They want 6 points, not 2. Can it is. Hits it up first up. Standing in the tackle. Morley spins him. There is trouble here for Adrian Morley.
Mate, listen. These guys, they're just going a bit over the top. They tried to pick the bloke and lift him, all right? Now, it was very borderline. It's only going to be a penalty, but you've got to cool it. We've had too many penalties too early. Settle your blokes down. When I call the tackles, you've got to get up and get away, and nothing silly, right? Mate, okay, you should know by now I'm calling it.
Well, there you see it, and the Rhinos might have set a new record for the amount of penalties given up in the opening 2 minutes of the second half.
Well, interesting to see that the decision not to take 2 points would have been a fairly comfortable shot at goal. They've got 5 tackles now to try and make it the correct decision.
The way they're going, you'd think the Rhinos were odds on to consider another penalty here. 4 penalties in 2 minutes. Here's Walters now. Tackled by Wayne Collins, his opposite. Mamando's a dummy half. He goes to the blind side, bounces away from Hassan. It's a good tackle around the legs, though, from Yeston Harris, who stops him. Skiffalidi. They spin it wide. Can. Standing 2 off the ruck. Gets it back to Skiffalidi. Hick. Away to Stone. Plenty of cover there, including Mercer, who was a tireless worker. 1 left for the Rams. Williamson puts it high to the air, coming back towards the left-hand side. Simons is there. Bats it to Solomon Keary. Maybon in turn to Skiffalidi, and Stone again will have a second crack at a bomb. Into the in goal. Both Damien Gibson and Leroy River were there. They took it. And the Rhinos will restart it from the 20-metre line.
Pretty sloppy play from Adelaide.
Standing by with us on the sideline is Gary Hetherington, the chief executive of the Leeds Rhinos Club. Gary, what were the instructions from Dean Bell to your side at half-time?
Well, Dean feels it's gone very well, as of course it has. 2 very well-matched sides out here, and I think Leeds were a little bit unlucky to come off at half-time 4 points down. But certainly we've really got a game on our hands now. This first 10 minutes is a vital period, and I think if we can control Kerrod Walters round the acting half-back, then certainly we're in with a great chance.
Gary, our dressing room camera showing us there was plenty of spring in the steps as the boys took the field for the second half. Obviously the confidence is at a good level.
Yes, there's tremendous spirit within the side, and there's also a lot of confidence. The players knew they didn't give us some justice last week. They were very confident of being able to beat this Adelaide Rams side, and you know, we came into the game pretty well focused and knowing what to do. And so far, it's a pretty tight pitch, is this. It doesn't really lend itself for spreading the ball, which really is our style. But certainly the forwards have put up a great defensive effort, and we're making a lot of yards going forward. If we can get into their red zone and capitalise, and I think we've got the players in Sheridan and Harris and 1 or 2 more to be able to split the Rams and finish the job off. But certainly this next 10 minutes is going to be a vital period.
Gary, good luck in the second half. Thank you for your time. Yes, and Harris will line up the penalty after Gary Mercer made a big bust right up the middle of the Adelaide Rams defence, and it was penalty given away, possibly in desperation to stop what might have been a 4-pointer. Harris, this time, he's hooked it again.
Well, this bloke has got a very good goal-kicking record in the UK. He sinks them at around about 76%. He's obviously out to bring him down, bring himself back to the rest of the field. They are 2 shots that really should have seen the scoreboard tied.
You're exactly right. It should have been. For intents and purposes, 8 points all at this stage. Harris has missed with 2 that were basically right in front of the sticks. Anthony Farrell has it. 20-metre dropout. Here's Gary Mercer charging at the Adelaide Rams. Getting them going backwards. For a quick play the ball. Through Sheridan. Handed back. Harris Morley's away on the left-hand side. Got to Mabon, who made a great covering tackle. Rivet comes away. This is Yaston Harris. Cut-out ball for Mercer. Turn to Farrell. Somebody needs to take on the defence. Cummins it is in the end who does so. The Rams have been able to slide. Mercer working it up inside the Rams 10. One more chance for the Rhinos. Collins goes to the open side through Mathau. Comes to Harris. Good ball away to Farrell. He can't hang on to it. And it will be a changeover. Sterling it was who was tackled in the end. Rams hanging on grimly.
Well, they've really got a sniff, haven't they, this lead side? They can smell a victory here. They've really lifted in this second half. Their ball control's better. They're running with determination. They're on the big show here.
Stone working it away from the Rams' red zone. Just over 7 minutes gone in the second half. They conceded 4 penalties in the opening 2 minutes of this half. The Rhinos hung tight. Still trail by the half-time scoreline of 8 points to 4. Williamson with the kick for the Rams. Comes down to Damien Gibson. He's been solid at the back. Once again for the Leeds side. Had a good game last week as well against the Cowboys. Rivets wrapped up. Hassan. Tracking to his right-hand side. In the end, couldn't beat Steve Stone's tackle. Here is Sterling. Mathau searching for the halfway line. Gets to within 9 metres of it. Dermott couldn't handle it. That's nicely though for Gibson. Good away to Rivet, who threw an awkward pass to Morley. Was certainly not afraid to throw it around.
Well, I never opened my mouth up. I was going to say the first couple of sets of 6 tackles that they've had, they played quite smartly. 3 shocking passes that really put themselves under pressure.
It led so easily to another mistake, and the Rams would have had the ball in good position. Simons picks it up at the 20-metre line. Coming through quickly, that was Harris. He did a good job to wrap up Simons.
He did a good job to wrap him up, but I think he probably pointed out to a couple of his teammates as a nice break is made.
Maguire away down the right-hand side, looking for support. Back on his inside. Mabon is there. He did it away to Chris Quinn. Maguire still in support as more Rams come through. They found the hole on the left side of the fence for the Leeds Rhinos. And they're going to send somebody to the bin here. Well,
Rod
that is a big blow to the Rhinos.
Damien Gibson it is one.
Fullback goes to the bin. Steve Clark was calling for Rod Mabon.
Last 4 tackles, last 4 penalties, they were all for slowing the play down. Now it's a big blow.
Barry,
not only because it's just one of their more experienced and talented players, but their fullback. Now they're going to have to stick somebody back there who isn't all that experienced in that particular area, and could be a man that's going to face a real barrage of bombs coming.
See what they do in this set of 6 inside the Rhinos' red zone. Mamando. 9 metres away from the line. Plenty of space to the left-hand side for the Rams. Williamson saw the gap, took the one, and he'll stroll through to score. And just like that, a man down, the Rhinos concede a try, and they trail now by 8 points.
And no surprise, but after he made the break, this talented youngster didn't have anybody to beat. Here's the penalty coming up. Damien Gibson just hanging on too long. Got Adelaide into this position. Williamson with the ball in 2 hands. A little bit of a lazy effort on the inside by Adrian Morley, but no cover defending effort from a fullback because the Leeds Rhinos don't have one at the moment.
Yeah, he just straightens up into the hole, doesn't he, Luke Williamson? Farrell it was who missed the tackle. And that's a real blow, but you're going to put that down to lack of discipline from this Leeds side. They've given away 5 penalties in 12 minutes, and that's given the Adelaide side plenty of possession. And really, that lack of discipline could end up costing them the game.
Gary Mercer talking to his side now. Composure, surely, has to be the key word for them. So much possession they've given up to the Rams.
Well, they're doing a little bit of yelling, and Randy, they're obviously upset about the penalty, but it's very important now for Mercer that he settles the team down. He's the bloke with the C next to his name in the program. They're a little bit upset about it, but they've got to take it. The points are on the board.
There is 2 more points on the board for the Rams. 14-4 they lead after the Williamson conversion. 10-point gap between these two sides now. The feeling that the Rams can score next might be enough to wrap the game up for them.
It really did look like they had the back line covered man for man. But again, when you're running a fellow like Williamson, an 18-year-old kid, who's playing at 5'8" against Anthony Farrell, quite a talented player, but a second row and a big one at that. I guess it isn't quite an even ball game.
Even though they had no fullback in there, it really was just a case of not numbering up on that side of the field as Williamson strolled through the defence.
So you've got to wonder whether they've allocated somebody to get into that fullback spot, because it really didn't look like they'd settled down after the complaints from that penalty.
Yes, Rivet in danger of being forced over the touchline. He's been so.
Thanks, Dave.
Another mental mistake by the Rhinos. And the Rams will have it on the 30-metre line with a loosened feed. Damien Gibson stretching the hamstrings. Well, he might to be out there in the field. At the moment, he's stuck 100 metres downstairs in the Rhinos dressing room, a long way from the action. And here are the Rams. Going to put some play action themselves together and score another try. Boughton hits it up. 22 out from the Rhinos line. Darting away from dummy half was Stone. Who it was who went high and made the tackle? Skipoletti. Back to him from Hick. Sheridan around the legs. Plenty of players coming in late. They could have been penalised for flopping on the tackled player again. Walters now. Cumbersome it was as Morley got tangled up with him. Ball comes loose from Alan Cairns' grasp. Now, Walters with a bit of soccer skill flicked it up for himself. Gets it back from Solomon Keary. Staggers and then darts. Got a ball away to Steve Stone. He's going to score, but was the pass forward? Stephen Clark was right on top of it. He'll point to the pot and give them a 4-pointer. But I've got some doubt about the pass back on the inside from Kerrod Walters.
Yeah, it was line ball, but before they got to that situation, you've really got to be a little bit critical of the Leeds defence. Now, admittedly, it's come from a difficult situation where the ball's hit the ground. One player, and one player only, took off to try and grab him. It was Paul Sterling. None of the other defence is really in a determined mode. Well, maybe it looked like it was okay on that shot. But they had to try and come up and put some sort of pressure. Kerrod Walters simply taking off. Gary Mercer, one of the guys that was pulled in. Well, you have a look at that shot. It looks forward. Very difficult to make those ankles. But, Jacko, I guess it's just a case of going to sleep too early when the ball hit the ground.
Yeah, it's a shame, Wally, isn't it? Because I thought they were in with a real show in this second half, but it's really been a lack of discipline. Rivette getting pushed over the sideline, 4 or 5 penalties. You know, and really at this stage you have to say Adelaide have got to be, you know, well and truly home and hose. It's a shame for the match itself because I thought they were playing pretty well, Leeds. Their actual basics of the game have been pretty good. It's just been a lack of discipline.
Luke Williamson with a perfect record, trying to extend this lead to 16 points. Damien Gibson has been off the field for 5 minutes and the Rams are running 2 tries as Williamson pilots it through. That's Adelaide 20 who lead Leeds 4 with just over 24.5 minutes left before full time.
Well, Kerrod Walters racing up the middle. still, he's not a big man, Kerrod. You probably think that a couple of the Rhinos may have been better advised to go into the tackle with the idea of knocking him backwards rather than just put a couple of arms around him and maybe stop the ball getting past sideways.
Steve Stone, the try scorer, getting a break in what is his 200th grade game. It's been a happy occasion for him. The double century up. The try scorer, Steve Stone. Gary Mercer. Cameron Blair was high with Ken around the legs.
Yeah. Cameron. Mate, the thing that brought him undone is he jumped off the ground, all right? That you jumped off the ground to get him high, okay?
That's the tackle that has brought a lot of criticism to both Cameron Blair and Alan Langer. He uses the foot out to the side to try and, well, not quite trip the players, probably a poor choice of words, but unbalance them. The referee, I think it's there in black and white, he certainly did jump off the ground. Anything missing with the stairs.
The Rhinos are trying to find their way back on the scoreboard now, down by 16. Will be a big ask for them as Cummins. Tackled 15 metres out, 10 metres in from the western touchline. Sterling away from dummy half. He's been well contained in the limited chances he's had this evening. Hasn't seen much of the ball at all. Comes away through Mercer. Short pass on the field in 14 is Graham Holroyd for the Leeds Rhinos. Last tackle. Harris looking for Sterling coming through. Back there is Simons, who was tagged. Pedling took it in the field of play, and it will be a restart from the Rams from the 20-metre line.
And while a lot of people may think that that's a real play in rugby league now, have a look. There is just one player from Leeds that's within 10 metres of the ball. Paul Sterling, the only one anywhere near it. He's the fastest player in the Rhinos, and he didn't have an opportunity to get there. Very poor play. They're better off putting the high ball up closer to the post where they can get 6 or 8 players to go down and put pressure on.
Yeah, their kicking game's been ordinary, Wally, hasn't it? Both their goal kicking and their kicking in general plays really let them down tonight.
And tackled just with the triggered pitch area. There's Walters. Again, looking for holes, and Barry McDermott came on quickly to shut it off, and then give Kerrod a little bit of what for as well.
Yeah, I think Kerrod was a bit grumpy. He looked up to blow up a little bit when he saw who it was. He just accepted it.
With good reason. Fearsome side is Barry McDermott, even without 10 stitches across his forehead. Here's Leroy Rivet.
And look at that chasing game.
Numbers for the Rams as they drive Rivet backwards, Mountain over the top, and Blair down low as well.
Leroy Rivet, I reckon he's run 100 metres tonight, and 85 of those have been backwards.
Maybe you could take on Donovan Bailey and Michael Johnson in a 150-metre race backwards. They'll play the ball. Here's Mercer again to the right-hand side. Number 21 on the field for the Rhinos is Terry Newton, so plenty of changes being worked now by Dean Bell. Harris down the blind side. Damien Gibson coming back on in around about 30 seconds time for Leeds. A mistake from dummy half. They've turned it over again.
Well, Damien Gibson, as you said, Warren, about to come back on. How expensive has his 10 minutes been in the bin? 2 tries they've scored and really put the game out of the reach for the Rhinos. You've got to ask the question, was it worth it?
12 points would tell you not, as Alan Cann now comes from the field. He doesn't look too well. Minor worrying sign for coach Rod Reddy, of course, with Cann coming back this season from a knee reconstruction. The Rams will run a replacement on for Alan Cann.
Back you go. Back you go.
Well, he's warning the players to get back 5 metres. If they're not back 10, oh, turn it up. Gee, he's just penalised Stephen Clark, the Leeds back line, for being inside 5 metres back from the scrum. I reckon they were back 11.
And he's had the micrometer out, found them a millimetre up inside it. Here's Mamando. Inside the Rhinos 20. Corvo hasn't seen a lot of time on the field this evening. He's brought to ground. They're spread spread both ways. Mando dummies, tries to shrug away from Morley. Hassan holds him up, and a good thing he did, because Mando was going to crash over. He'll play it back to Walters. This time they've got no choice but to go left. Hick standing flat. Got it back to Skipper Liddy, who drops it in the end. Holroyd comes up with it for the Rhinos.
That was good defence on that occasion by Leeds. They really sprinted out of their line and put pressure on their opponents. Something that we've seen all too, well, not often enough on these occasions. But they've really got to try and change their game plan at the moment. Their simple rucks up the middle don't work. They've got to try some run-arounds, some inside ball plays, or just try and get on the outside of the ruck, attack around the 5 over the centre's mark.
Just some news on Alan Cairn. He's struggling with a back injury. Not quite sure if he'll be back, but he is in a fair bit of pain down here on the sideline.
That is bad news for the Nuggety front rower. The ball goes to the air. It will run over this western touchline as the rain starts to come down heavily once again at Adelaide Oval, and there is Alan Cairn being worked on by the team physios.
Not too bad on that occasion, although, you know, it may look like they've wasted a couple of tackles there, and the kick went into touch anyway. It has gained them around about 20 metres, but the thing it does, if you put in a kick around about every third or fourth backline play, it creates doubt in the minds of the defenders. Do we race up, or do we hang back a little bit and wait for maybe a chip kick to go over? That's something that you've got to try and bring in a little bit. You've got to give them a little bit of a pat on the back for creating something and a change in their own game plan.
Yeah, but once again, Wally, the kick was too deep. He gave no opportunity for the chasers to get through. I thought it was a terrible kick.
Does anybody want to come in? That's 1-1.
We're not going to go to the video referee on this occasion.
Well, they need points, don't they? They don't need field position at this stage. They need to get some points on the board, and you won't do it with kicks like that.
Probably right, Peter. They may as well get beaten by 100. Oh, there's a big spear tackle, Newton. There's trouble here, and he's been sent off. Stephen Clark has sent him off. Now they're down to 12 men permanently.
Mate, we had a penalty up there. He's lifted that bloke and has dropped him on his head.
Gee, and I don't think too many people could argue against that.
Oh, that was a nasty tackle, Wally. That was terrible.
The real shame is that he hasn't been on the field all that long.
Terry Newton sent off for the Rhinos in the 64th minute. And with that, you'd think their chance of mounting a comeback here all but evaporating. Corvo, as Newton makes the long trek back to the dressing room as the rain continues at Adelaide Oval.
That sure is a long, lonely walk when you've been sent off, particularly when you're playing out of your country and you don't need too many people to call your names on the way to the shed.
Corvo, 10 metres away from the Rhinos line. Looking to add insult to injury. Walters got it away to Mando. Shoveled it back out for Quinn. Did he get it down?
He's checking for that good pressure.
And Stephen Clark will go to the video referee.
He's asking for was downward pressure put on the football. It looked like it could have been spilt out of the front of Quinn's grip. All the referee is looking for, the third referee on this occasion, was there downward pressure put?
From that replay, you'd say no doubt about it. Ian Parnaby is the video referee. And he's called on for the first time this evening. Chris Quinn has no doubt that he scored. All the Rams, in fact, walking back towards the halfway line as the Rhinos stand behind the goal line. They're also sure he scored, and here is the official decision. It is a try.
Well, are we about to see it cave in the same way as it did the last time Leeds had 12 players on the football field? It's expensive. You just cannot bat when you've got extra men on the opposition. They had at least one man shortage on the blind there. Again, a little bit of a half error, giving them the opportunity. Kerrod Walters running the football, creating doubt, a nice pass into a hole. This is where the error came. Gee, you have a look at that. Easton Harris is the man that's almost knocked the ball out of his grip. You pat him on the back to say you've created doubt in the mind of the ball carrier. Moments later, you've got an extra 4 points against you.
Well, it's going to be a long last quarter of an hour here for the Leeds Rhinos as Gary McDermott, as I say, after Gary Mercer had a couple of words. McDermott going to town with everybody, and
yeah, he sure is, and I think he'll be reminding himself and his players of a quote that came out today. He said that it just wasn't the opportunity of playing here and hoping for a win. He mentioned that it was British pride that was up for grabs. He didn't like it being dented. He wanted to prove themselves out here tonight. Unfortunately, it just hasn't happened that way.
Williamson, who up until this point had a perfect record, he sprays that one wide. So it remains 24 points to 4 in favour of the Adelaide Rams over the Leeds Rhinos, and it's the Rhinos who are going to travel back to England with an 0-2 record after the first session. As far as the World Club Challenge is concerned, they have the bye next week. And you would think at this stage, with plenty of other clubs sure to fare possibly a little bit better than themselves, they're going to do it tough to make the playoffs, with the top side from Pool B in the Euro League playing the team that finishes 4th in Pool A of the Euro League. That playoff will decide the team that goes through and joins the 3 top teams from Pool A as far as the Euro League team is concerned. And now another mistake, this time from Andy Hay, who was on the field. Well, it's been symptomatic of the night as far as the Rhinos are concerned.
The interesting point about both those rucks is they were taken up. One from their permanent workhorse and captain Gary Mercer, the other one from the fellow that dropped the ball. There wasn't a supporting player within 10 metres.
The Rams, another great chance here. Campion on the field for them. Played in the Tri-Series.
He's only been on there for a number of seconds, and already he's picked up a wound that may carry him off the field.
Skipper Liddy, as Williamson turns it back inside for Maybon. He'll go in behind the post. It's an exhibition now from Adelaide.
Yeah, it's just a point-scoring exhibition. The opportunity being provided that time by Graham Holroyd from Leeds. The ball was shifted wide. Holroyd's number 14 for Leeds. As the ball was turned back inside, he simply didn't bother sliding across. Saw Eston Harris cover it fairly well. But Jacko, it's pure laziness coming out now.
Yeah, well, they've thrown the towel in, Leeds. No, they can't win this game. While they're in there with a chance, Wally, I thought they were playing pretty well. With 12 men now, the game's all over, and I wouldn't be surprised if Adelaide put on another 3 or 4 tries before the night's out.
Rod Maybon picks up his 3rd try of the World Club Challenge after notching a double last week in that 50 points to 8 rout of Salford. Williamson this time will have the conversion from pretty much directly in front.
Yeah, bad news for Kevin Campion coming off the field now. It looks like that'll be him for the evening. Looks like a leg injury. Of course, he just came back from a leg injury. And he looks in a fair bit of pain, poor old Kev. Had a fantastic Tri-Series for Queensland. Really improved his football down here with the Adelaide Rams, and that's a terrible blow for the club and for him.
He strained an adductor muscle, as you say, a couple of weeks ago, and it looks for sure as though he's re-injured. That muscle is Williamson. Kicks the conversion, makes it 30 points to 4 after the Rams led by just 4 at half-time.
Well, here it is coming up. The ball being shifted across field. It was very well covered by Eston Harris. But gee, you've got to be able to rely on the blokes inside you. On slide defence, the man inside you becomes the most important man in the defensive back line. If he isn't worth 2 bob and backing you up on the slide, you might as well throw in the towel permanent.
Gibson jugged it there from the restart. I don't think the Rams are going to put the whip away here. They lead by 30 points to 4, but of course, for and against, percentage points could decide the team that goes through as far as the Australasian teams are concerned and the EuroLeague teams from Pool B to join the 3 Pool A teams in the playoffs. So the Rams, after scoring 50 points last week against Salford, will be out to do likewise in the last 10 minutes here against the Leeds Rhinos. Here's Hay, away from dummy half, picks up 10 metres inside. The Rams 50. Holroyd, he'll put boot to ball. Looking for position inside the red zone of the Rams. Maybon. On the way to Simons. Had an up and down night in his comeback. And a month and a half on the sidelines with a broken finger, which required a plate and a couple of screws. Just when he was in great form as well for the Rams.
There's probably not a lot they can work on at the moment. Leeds have, I guess, got to try and remind themselves that even if they aren't going to be real problems for other teams in the World Series, but they've got to try and get themselves in a defensive pattern like that. That's pure laziness up the middle of the ruck.
Avon got through. Sorry, Wally then got the kick away. He was taken out of the play, but Steve Clark maybe taking a little bit of pity on the Rhinos, says play on.
Yeah, I think Steve gave him the sympathy vote there. Well, I probably should give Steve make it a little bit easier for him. The kick being put in, Mabon on the chase. Well, maybe there was the opportunity there for Harris to keep his straight line of running going. But getting back to it, they've got to be able to keep themselves, or get themselves back in a mode now where they think, well, we're going back to the English Premiership after this. We're running second at the moment. If we throw in the towel here and we get rid of our conference for the next couple of weeks, what's going to happen for our chances in the Euro League? We've got to get going again, 100%. This is what they've got to get. The normal play that they had at the start of the game. Fellas like McDermott running on the edge of the ruck and controlling possession.
Holroyd got it away to Phil Hassan. Inside 9 minutes left in this game. In one of round 2 in the World Club Challenge. Cummins darting away. Got it inside the red zone. Gibson with numbers to his left-hand side. Rivet will get across for the Rhinos. Good try. Work down the left-hand side for Leeds. And Rivet finished it off nicely. He had a little bit of work to do when he came up with it. There's no doubt he got the ball down.
Yeah, I'm going to back you up on that one. Warren, he had a little bit of work to do once he got the ball, but there was 3 separate occasions. We had a guy running away from dummy half. He got a ball away just millimetres from the ground. A simple draw. I probably thought he made a little bit of a mistake trying to come back on the inside, but he's got the 4 points on the board, so he definitely made the right decision on that occasion. There's some skill that we know that these Leeds guys have. It's just a situation where they just haven't been able to put it into place as much as they would have liked on the night.
Well, that was something different for Leroy Rivet. He actually ran forward on that occasion, which is always a plus.
Well, Jacko, you're an old Leeds boy. What about the confidence level in the club? Is he going to
they're going okay
tonight?
Yeah, well, they're going okay in Great Britain, Wally, but I mean, they're really struggling here. Here's the kick now.
It's Holroyd with the left boot. Struck it nicely, but it fades wide. Adelaide lead. The Rhinos, 30 points to 8. Just under 7.5 left before full time.
Some nice speed off the mark on that occasion. He did fairly well, Francis Cummins. That ball that he got away was as good as any pass we've seen in the game. Other skills that have come in have been fairly good. A lot of people will suggest that perhaps the Rams were lazy. That's taking a little bit of credit away. There was some dead set skill in that you take on board any time in your own game.
You talk about the flagging confidence of the Leeds Rhinos. These victories that the Rams are notching up here in the World Club Challenge will certainly give them some renewed confidence after a couple of heavy losses to both Canterbury and Canberra in the last 2 rounds of the Australasian Super League. Once they rejoin the Australasian Super League in rounds 13, 14 and 15, this Rams side will certainly come out a different team as Steve Stone darts away from dummy half. Mabon spinning and waiting for support. Comes up with a mistake. The Rhinos will get it. Geez, they opened up again.
They did. Jamie Matho was the player at fault on that occasion, and really side on probably makes it a little bit difficult to judge distances. Here's the sidestep on the inside. Jamie Matho on the headgear. Well, he looked like he was probably an arm's length away from the ball carrier and didn't make much of an effort to get out there. That, of course, sometimes happens once the ball game is all over. But you've got to look at yourself and worry about your personal pride when situations like that occur.
Here is Barry McDermott working up towards the halfway line. Lashes out here at Kurt Wrigley, who's on the field for the Rams.
No, just get up and off it.
I think he milked that fairly well, Barry, as well. I don't believe the first time he put his hand out, he was just saying, please get off me, you're laying on me too long. Just as he's rolling over, he just gives him a little bit of a left shove, probably wiping the dirt off the face.
That's all it would have been. Gibson will play it. 30 away from the Rams line. Can they score again and make this scoreline a bit more respectable?
And you can't bag their skipper, Gary Mercer. He's a trier, isn't he?
Yeah, he was the same Jacko last week in Townsville, and I'm sure that we'll see in this last 5 minutes that he'll come up with a couple more hit-ups yet and probably show a lot more desperation in defence than some of his teammates.
12 metres out from the Adelaide line. They come to the right-hand side. Sheridan searching for the try line. Wrigley was there.
He's short on the right-hand side. If they're able to get a quick pass, well, they've gone the other way.
Harris, flat pass for Hay. Away to Rivet. This time he doesn't run forward. He kicks it, in fact, and Chris Quinn took it on the full. The sand came to get him, but it was danger times again for the Rhinos. The Mando picks up 10 metres for Adelaide. I'll be happy just to use up the clock at this point in time. Stone dummies back on the inside and goes himself. Simple one-out stuff. Gee, he was standing there for an eternity, and Skipper Liddy got it. He's away now. Gibson was forced to come up and make an important tackle. Walters went one way and back the other. 4 minutes left. Hick shovels it away from dummy half. Luke Williamson strolled through a couple of tackles. Got it back to Stone. Can he score number 2? Can he ever?
Well, this is the one that I'll put a question mark on. The referee has put the whistle to a little bit of work, but there was some doubt over the inside pass. Again, lazy defence opening up. Some shocking holes coming up, but basically only through simple grabs and tackles. Jamie Matho won. The pass, well, make your own judgment on that one. I've made mine.
Steve Clark ruled in favour of the Rams, and really it means nothing more than, as we said, for and against percentage points. Rod Reddy will be happy to see his side run in as many tries as possible, and he would have been concerned they gave up that try down the left-hand side to Leroy Rivet a moment ago. Stone picks up his 3rd try of the World Club Challenge. Williamson can add the extras from the 20-metre line.
Well, this has been a good performance for young Luke Williamson. He scored a try, has been involved in a couple of others, so this will do his confidence the world of good. Obviously, the defence from the EuroLeague sides isn't as strong as what they come up against in Australia in the Australasian Super League, but the fact that he's making breaks and putting blokes through holes will do his confidence the world of good.
He's a very talented young kid. Yet to hit 19 years of age, or might have just hit 19 years of age, but he's got so much time and space to do everything, and he's a goal kicker in big-time competition, and you certainly don't see any pressure on him any time you look at his face.
From what we've seen of him early on in his career, he's a very good goal kicker. This time, well, as always, when you give somebody a rap, he sprays it wide. But he's 5 from 7 tonight. The Adelaide Rams lead the Leeds Rhinos 34 points to 8 with 78 minutes gone. And despite the rain tumbling down and providing English-like conditions for us, certainly hasn't favoured the Rhinos. Holroyd it is. Tries to work it away from the Rhinos red zone. Andy Hay saw some minutes last week against the North Queensland Cowboys and picks up some time on the park again this evening against Adelaide. Barry McDermott, along with Gary Mercer, have been tireless hitting the ball up. Mathau as well has had a good game after having a couple of fumbling lapses early on in the first half when he came on. Martin Marcella left the game early for the Rhinos with a shoulder injury. Hasn't been seen since, so restricted the Rhinos to 3 fresh players, even though the 6 replacement rule is in effect here in the World Club Challenge, or miscommunication between the Rams.
To scrum, fellas, to scrum.
Rod Mavon was there with Michael Maguire, and both players thought the other was taking it.
Yeah, I guess the inspiration to try and get in and catch a bomb like this fades a little bit once you see the scoreline at the levels that it's been, but I'll bet that Coach Rod Reddy doesn't agree with that once he gets in after the game or watching the after-match video. He'll speak to Rod Maybon and just remind him that he's got plenty of experience on board and he's a very good, talented player.
The kick through from the scrum. Simon's under pressure. He wrapped it up. Did he take it in the end goal? Stephen Clark says he took it in the field of play and then was forced backwards over the touch-in goal line. With the full-time siren about to sound, they may not have time for the restart. Simon's going backwards under pressure from Sterling, and there it is. Full-time at the Adelaide Oval. As the Adelaide Rams, who defeated the Leeds Rhinos by a scoreline of 34 points to 8 in front of a good crowd. Terrible conditions here at the Adelaide Oval. They've come out in support of the Rams again, as they've done all season.
Yeah, it was very unusual to see them just before they ran on. It didn't look like they were going to have too many, but looking round the outer, in front of the famous scoreboard church, all the way round the new grandstand to the Sir Donald Bradman stand, there's plenty of people that have packed in here, and I believe that after these two matches, where we've seen the Rams win by cricket score lines last weekend, and very convincingly this week, 34 points to 8, I'll gain a few more supporters for the next game that they've got on home track.
Well, as Damien Gibson and Dean Smith-Fellini chat with Gerard Walters about what has just happened in the previous 80 minutes out there in the field, the Adelaide Rams record now as far as for and against, and as we say, it is important when you consider that made aside the top team from Pool B. Adelaide now have scored 84 points, conceded just 14. Down on the sideline, we cross to Peter Jackson.
Well, Wayne Collins, you seem to be in the game up to half-time, but Damien Gibson sent to the sin bin. A couple of mistakes, a few penalties, was all over.
Yeah, it was. You know, at half-time we really thought we were in with a big chance. You know, we didn't think we played that particularly well in the first half, and we're only a couple of points behind, so we're really confident coming back into the game. But, you know, a couple of things went against us there. Damien got sent off, and, you know, I guess they went away with it then.
The penalties seem to be a problem. Is there a problem with the interpretation, or was it the referee's fault?
Yeah, you know, we've been working hard on that particular area, you know, around the ruck, and obviously, you know, they got us about 6 times in a row there, or I think for holding down in the ruck, so that's something we're going to have to look at. Obviously,
the mistakes in the first half, you didn't play that well, but you hung in there. But in the second half, you made the same mistakes, but you just couldn't hang in there.
No, that's right. You know, probably towards the end, no doubt we got a little bit tired, and, you know, they put a few tries on us late in the game, you know, particularly when we had one sent off towards the end there.
All right, mate. Well, bad luck. Hasn't been a great time in Australia, but have a nice flight back to Great Britain.
Yeah, we look forward to them both coming over there and playing us in England.
There he is.
Well, Wayne Collins determined to turn the tables on the sides they've been beaten by, and they've ventured down to Australia as Gerard Walters, the goose-stepper from last week, applauds the crowd who came out in good numbers once again here at Adelaide Oval. A crowd in excess of 14 or 15,000, you'd think, and there is the final scoreline, 34 points to 8. Steve Stone and Chris Quinn scored 2 tries apiece. Rod Maybon and Luke Williamson getting 1 each. Williamson was 5 from 7 in the goal-kicking department. Sheridan and Rivet scored tries for Leeds, and Essen Harris was definitely off target. No goals for 3 attempts from him. As we cross back down to Peter Jackson once again with Luke Williamson.
Well, Luke, looked like you're in for a real game at half-time.
Yeah, it was fairly close. We thought they'd come in a lot better than they did last week, and they did that. We stuck to it, and in the second half, a few things went our way,
Yeah, they made a lot of mistakes in that second half, didn't they? And particularly, you seemed to get a glut of penalties at one stage. I think you got 4 or 5 in a row.
Yeah, we were lucky to have a few things go our way, and we just capitalised on that, yeah.
Now, Luke, yourself, you made a couple of breaks, scored a try tonight, put a few blokes over, so it was an impressive performance by yourself.
Oh, it was all right, yeah. There's still a few mistakes there, but just take play week by week, yeah, it's all right.
So you must be happy with the amount of points that you scored with the side, with the for and against being so important in this championship?
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah. That's the crucial factor in this competition, the for and against, especially in our pool, and we'll be all guns blazing, yeah.
Well, congratulations on a good match and a good win for the Rams.
Thank you very much.
Well, Peter Jackson mentioning there about the points that the Adelaide Rams have been able to post in that match, and the last couple, they've had some pretty impressive performances over the last 4 or 5 matches. In fact, 4 of the past 7 Telstra Cup matches. Although they lost 4 of those games, they managed to score good points. They scored 22 against Canterbury, 22 against Canberra, 22 again against Canterbury, and 18 against Canberra the second time round, so they can score points. The only problem Rod Reddy's got to work on is their defence.
At the moment, they sit on top of Pool B as far as the Australasian Super League teams are concerned in the World Club Challenge. As we look at St Peter's Cathedral just outside the famous Adelaide Oval, on behalf of Peter Jackson and Wally Lewis, and in fact all the Fox Sports crew, I'm Warren Smith. Thanks for your company this evening, and make sure you keep watching all the great action on Fox Sports.